Joining me right now is a man who was an MVP of the Super Bowl back in the day and also a Heisman Trophy winner and one of my favorites, part of College GameDay, which will emanate this Saturday from Augusta National. He is Desmond Howard. How are you, Des?
I'm doing well. I can't complain. How you doing, Rich?
I'm doing fine. First things first is how are you feeling? You had COVID-19, I know, and you stepped away for a couple weeks. How are you feeling?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking. I do appreciate that. I'm feeling better now, feeling stronger. Just still got to take it easy because this is a very tricky and unpredictable virus. But I'm feeling much better and definitely stronger now. So thanks. I appreciate that.
Of course. Can I ask how it affected you, Des?
Oh, yeah. Well, my symptoms were I had like this. First, I had like that scratchy throat feeling the way you try to cough like you're clearing your throat, that very annoying cough where it's like it starts to irritate you a lot. So I had that scratchy throat cough, and then I had body aches, especially my upper body, and I had sinus pressure too, bad sinus pressure, like in my forehead area around my eyes, and then a week later I lost my sense of smell and taste, which I haven't, gotten them back fully yet. So those are my symptoms.
No kidding. Well, but you are on the mend, and obviously you're back at your job this week. What is it like at Augusta? Have you ever been there before? Is this your first time at Augusta National?
I've never been here before. Obviously I've seen the tournament, the Masters, and everything, and a lot of when you're in this industry, you're going to run across a lot of people who love golf, yes. And so very familiar with it and what it means to golf, and then we've had like golfers, professional golfers as celebrity guest pickers too, yes, on the show, and so this is really something. I guess the only thing I could possibly equate it to as far as like college football is probably like similar to going out to Pasadena and seeing the Rose Bowl for, yes, the first time, because it's just such a special venue. I think that's what the being at the Masters is for me.
So, yeah, I was actually at the top of this show talking about the Rose Bowl. One of the first times I ever saw you play was at the Rose Bowl in the '89 season. I don't know if you were out there for the regular season game against UCLA that led to what was Bo Schembechler's final game. I know you played in that one, Des. I remember that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes, sir.
That was your first Rose Bowl experience, Des?
Yeah, it was. I mean, because we've been to several, but that was like the first one to play in, and that was amazing. I mean, when you go out there, the pageantry, the lawn is just like perfect. Yes. The mountains behind the stadium. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that. And I tell anyone, I said, if you're a real avid college football fan, you love college football, going to the Rose Bowl has to be on your bucket list.
There's no doubt about it. It's so beautiful. All right, so let's get to the current state of affairs in college football. Here in the NFL, we're still trying to figure out who the best is, but we've been able to get most of the season in, thank goodness, with nobody canceled. But now it's. I mean, how do I make heads or tails of this college football season right now, Desmond?
Oh, brother, listen, my man, it's a challenge. It really is, because there's a bunch of moving parts, a bunch of games being either postponed or canceled. So this is a work in progress. No one knows exactly how you're going to determine who the best teams are now, based on the eye test.
Yes,
which is. I think, is very useful at this point. I mean, it's relevant at this point. You would look at Alabama. They've been pretty dominant. You look at the Buckeyes, those games that they've played so far, they've been pretty dominant. You have a Clemson. I mean, Clemson is still a dominant team. Okay, they lost Notre Dame. That just makes a lot of us look at Notre Dame a little differently. And obviously they beat Clemson without Trevor Lawrence, but yet and still, I mean, they scored a lot of points on that Brent Venables defense. I mean, people are not like giving that the amount of credit that Notre Dame deserves. And to be honest with you, Rich, Notre Dame should have scored more points on Clemson's defense, but They got in the red zone several times, settled for field goals, and then one time, Ian Book, the quarterback, I mean, he's like about to go into the end zone. He just fumbles the ball. Well, I don't say he just fumbled it. He was like Brent Venable's son, who plays linebacker. His son did, attempt to tackle Ian Book, and on his attempt at tackling Ian Book, he got the ball out. But still, I mean, I think this is like inside like maybe the 10-yard line. So there are many more opportunities for Notre Dame to score touchdowns that they didn't take advantage of. So I understand that Trevor Lawrence, he's supposed to be the number one pick in the draft and all that good stuff, and he didn't play. But they really did a number on Clemson's defense. And I don't think they get enough credit for the job that they did, Rich.
They sure did. I agree with you. You got to play who's in front of you, and Clemson came in obviously without Trevor Lawrence, but everyone else was pretty much loaded for bear there. And I'm assuming we'll see them again in the ACC championship game, and then we'll just determine whether we want to run it back one more time in a college football playoff, because I'm looking around and I'm trying to see who might raise their hand and say, even in this COVID-19 season, they deserve a shot. I don't know who else is out there, Des. How do you handicap that right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's tough. I would say now, up to this point in the season, some of the best teams, or some of the teams that I've seen is playing the best football. Okay, we already mentioned Clemson. We already mentioned Alabama. We already mentioned the Buckeyes and Notre Dame, okay? But then you kind of go off the grid. Very, very impressed by the BYU Cougars. They got this quarterback, Zach Wilson, who's having a fantastic season. They're very physical, and they've been impressive from day one, and they've been extremely consistent. So the BYU is a team that I like, too. And then Cincinnati Bearcats. When you want to look at a group of five team, they got this quarterback, Desmond Ritter. He's playing at a high level every week, but they have a defense. Man, their defense is for real. Like they shut down like SMU, which was a high-scoring defense. They shut down Memphis, another high-scoring defense. And so those are two outliers when you look at BYU and you look at the Cincinnati Bearcats that people are starting to really pay attention to. And to be honest with you, Rich, before the season started, we always predict who's going to be in the college football playoff. And one of my four teams was the Cincinnati Bearcats. The only reason I took them out, because they were originally in, because at this point, the Big Ten had decided they were not going to play. So we're not talking about, any team in the Big Ten. So we eliminate the Big Ten. So I said, okay, well, I'm putting Cincinnati in there. So then when they did a 180, they being the Big Ten, and decided that they were going to have a season, I said, okay, well, I have to remove Cincinnati and put in Ohio State.
Well, I mean, and I spoke about, I guess, what I'm about to ask you with Mike Tirico earlier this week, and I know it might be total fantasy, but I might let's play it out here, because we did see Major League Baseball play in a pandemic and decide to expand their playoffs because of the truncated regular season. We already saw the NFL just this past week at their owners meeting, just in case COVID-19 starts canceling games, that they will expand the playoffs, literally making this decision that right now we know it's 1 through 7 in each conference, but it might be 1 through 8 if they have to go in this direction. We're already seeing so many canceled games week to week in college football. Why not come out and say, this year, one time only, it's a one-time only situation, let's expand the playoffs so BYU and Cincinnati can make it, and let's play it out and see how it goes. I know that presents its own issues in terms of competition and also the pandemic, but what do you think of that idea, Desmond?
I mean, I love giving the underdogs a legitimate shot at playing in the championship game. At least playing in the playoff. I love that opportunity. That as an option. But there's just so much that goes into it that we have to look at the logistics of everything and how much would this extend the season and what would this mean to the student athletes. Like, they always have to take those things into consideration. But I would love to have a situation where you have maybe Cincinnati versus BYU as a play-in game, where whoever wins they get to play into the playoff and have another two teams, have four teams do a playoff game, a play-in game.
Mm-hmm.
I like that idea, but like I said, you get these student athletes. How much does this extend the season and all that stuff?
Desmond Howard joining me here from Augusta National on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, Des, we're going to stroll into that third rail territory if you don't mind. Because I get it, and I didn't win a Heisman Trophy for the school. I get it a ton. What about our alma mater? What is happening there now, and what is the answer, do you think, Desmond Howard?
Yeah, that's
I know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so tough to talk about it, but we'll just chop it up best we can.
The thing is, because you look at Harbaugh and his tenure so far, and like on the surface, like there's a lot to unpack. I guess that's the best way to say it, Rich. There's a lot to unpack there, and but on the surface, he hasn't been able to hit on the quarterback, and I think that's been his biggest issue. Like he hasn't been able to hit on the quarterback. Any of these teams that we see in college football, who we're talking about, they're good enough to get to like even the college football playoff, or they all got great to elite quarterbacks. Okay. He hasn't been able to hit on one. Now, Joe Milton, I've heard fantastic things about him. I think the last game against Indiana was the first time that I saw glimpses of what Joe Milton can be and what the offense can be, for the simple fact that they decided to go vertical. They had some vertical shots that they hit. He had one to Ronnie Bell that he missed. That was an easy walk-in touchdown. But this is the first time I saw them start to really stretch the field. The week before when they played Sparty, they just, there's a bunch of slants and quick outs and drag routes, but nothing really, really vertical. But against Indiana, now I see where Joe Milton's arm comes into play, and how these receivers they got. They're not the big ones that we've had for like the last 3, 4, 5 years, but they're vertical guys, they're fast guys, they're speed guys. So now I can see that potential, even though they lost. The other thing, Rich, is, and I said this on the show, I do believe as much as we all love Don Brown. I'm not talking about we all like Michigan fans and alumni. I'm talking about like college football fans, like analysts. Like Don Brown is a highly regarded defensive coordinator. I think that he's playing a scheme that he just doesn't have the personnel to run, though. I mean, these defensive backs, these cornerbacks are getting exposed. And, like that normally what happened, Rich, maybe later in the season, maybe against Ohio State, or maybe, when Penn State, they had like a Hamler. So normally that's when it would happen. But like to see it this early and this often, it is just, it's kind of alarming. And I don't know what that answer is. Can they play zone? Can these guys, the first time, like, okay, maybe this guy just had a bad game. But then you look at Indiana. Indiana looked at that film. They said, yeah, we're going to take shots down the field, and we're going to see what they can do. So that's the second part. That defense, they've given up a lot of points in big games, and that's been the difference maker too. And so I don't know. Those are like the two things on the surface. Like I said, there's a lot to unpack there, but when I look at X's and O's and just look at the team, I mean, Ty Law and Charles Woodson, they're not walking through that door, So I don't know what the answer is defensively, where they're going to be able to, run the scheme that Don wants to run and have some sort of success. And then Hutchinson is out. Hutchinson, we don't know how long he's going to be out. They say he has a fractured ankle or something like that. I don't know if he's out for the season or whatnot, so that's not going to help their pass rush either.
Well, and you want to talk about big games, Wisconsin coming out of COVID hell, there's no other way to describe it, is walking into the big house this weekend. And I heard Jim say afterwards, I heard Harbaugh say after the Indiana game that there's a lot to take out of it to be positive about, which is, difficult to hear and comprehend when they've just lost to an opponent for the first time since my sophomore year at college, I think, before you even showed up in Ann Arbor in 1987. But
you're right.
But now here comes Wisconsin, that I think wants to say, okay, here we go. What better way to let everyone understand that even in this crazy shortened season, it's not just Ohio State, and we need to take this side of the ledger so we can take on Ohio State in that last game of the year and reserve a seat for them in the college football playoff. This is a big game for Wisconsin coming up this weekend on Saturday night.
Huge game. Oh, you're absolutely right. It's a huge game for Wisconsin. We don't know what to expect. They've missed a couple of weeks now because of the COVID-19 and contact tracing, and we don't know. They haven't played in a while, so the quarterback, he was the one who had the positive test, and he wasn't the only one. He was the first name that you heard, but then they had multiple players with positive tests, and that's why they had to quarantine for. I guess I don't even know if it's been 21 days. That's the Big Ten rule, is you have to quarantine. At least the player or players who test positive have to quarantine for 21 days, and I guess. I don't know if it's 21 days after the positive test or 21 days starting where your symptoms began. Whatever. I'm not even sure about that language, but we'll see who lines up at quarterback and, who they bring out there on the field. It's going to be really interesting because we really don't know.
Oh, my gosh, Des.
I know, Rich.
I get it. My texts blow up from, the Ohio State fans that I know and friends about the school up north, and the reveling it's tough for me to take, man. It's tough to handle right now.
It's tough. Hey, imagine being in my shoes. You guys sit there and talk about it.
No, I do. I am. I come here every day, and the people call me up, and and I want it to work out for Harbaugh being there so bad. He's my guy. He's my quarterback. He's my freshman year quarterback. He's the guy and the kids who come in are very talented. It's not like the cupboard's totally bare. You know what I mean? That's
right.
A lot to unpack, as you put it. So. Before I let you go, what is Saturday's show going to look like? Walk me through what College Game Day at Augusta National is going to look like. Des?
It's going to be a good mix of what we always do, but some mixture of the masters of golf. And we'll probably have some players. Depending on their tee time. Do interviews.
How cool.
Because the thing about it is, these guys, a lot of them, they have some sort of affiliation with a college football team, and they love college football. So they're, this is an opportunity for them to show another side of their personality. That's not just golf, and it gives them opportunity to just kind of like relax. Because imagine you playing, Masters on a Saturday, and the tension and everything, but. Now you get a chance to like talk college football and let your personality come out and relax. So there'll be a good mixture of blending in, some of the golfers who are teeing off or who are playing during the hours that we're on air. So it should be fun. It should be nice. It should be great for our audience to see those personalities, and for obviously the Masters audience to see us.
So does Corso have like a Tiger Woods head to put on or something like that? Are we going to see something like that? What do you got for me on the Corso front for Saturday?
Man, I don't know what that dude is doing down there in Orlando. There's no telling what he's cooking up. That's a good question. I'm anxious to see what he's cooking up down there too. So we'll see Saturday, because I don't know what he got planned.
He's probably Tiger's neighbor. He's probably got, he probably goes to a cup of sugar and asks for, Ken Griffey for a cup of sugar. Knowing him,
You're probably right.
Hey, Des, it's great to hear you and great to hear your laugh. And I'm so glad that COVID-19, that you're getting through. You're getting through it best you can, and as well as you are back on. I can't wait to see you back on TV.
No, thank you. I really appreciate that. Thanks for having me on your show, man. Keep up the great work.
Always. Please. Right back at you. That's Desmond Howard, one of my all-time favorites. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.